in Florence and Anthem hospitals. I'm Dr. Anne Borik, board certified in internal medicine, and I'm here to keep you up to date on the latest information pertaining to your health and well-being. All right, Doc Talk Radio, welcome. Today we have an absolutely special show in store. You know, I got to tell you, Joe, we have the CEO of the hospital in the studio with us. And I really, really feel honored that you're here, David. So thank you so much for being here.
I'm the one that's honored, Ann. Thank you guys for having me.
This has got to be the coolest thing that's happened out here in, I don't know, at least 10 years.
Things are a little slow out here there. Trust me.
Helicopter comes in. It's awesome. Thank you, David, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Ann.
We have a lot to talk about today.
Great.
I want to just start with maybe just give our listeners a little bit of background, introduce yourself, and just kind of let us get to know, who you are, some of your interests, and that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know how much you want to hear, but we'll tell you a little bit about me. My name is David Wanger. I grew up on the East Coast, born in Long Island. Grew up actually in northern Jersey. Came out to California, I guess, 1979, 1980. Began running hospitals in California. We can talk more about that if you want later. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately made my way to Arizona. Married with 3 children. Excellent. And live in Mesa right now. Excellent.
Wow, it's great to see you at work every day. And I know that as a CEO, you basically drive the vision of hospitals. Share with us a little bit about your vision for the hospitals as we have Gilbert and Florence and Anthem.
Well, when Dr. Johns approached me, and Dr. Johns has been on the show, I know, as the managing partner, he actually had the vision of a hospital that was more in tune, more like a more traditional, older hospital that was not controlled by corporate medicine. Mm-hmm. Decisions were not made in a boardroom or certainly by the investors, but rather by the physicians, the clinicians, mm-hmm. physicians, nurses, those that are actually giving the treatment and performing the services to the patient. They're the ones that make all the decisions on anything that affects patient care. And in our model, and I've taken this and taken Dr. Johns' philosophy, in our model, that pertains to everything. So we have physicians and clinicians making all the decisions on even things such as valet parking or how far you park from the facility, whether or not there is a helicopter or not, and who's servicing the hospital patients via helicopter. Anything that would normally be made in a decision by a more traditional hospital company in a boardroom, that is made locally here, and it is made more specifically by those that are actually working and caring for the patients.
And that you really carry that and live that through day to day.
It's our mantra.
It is, and that's why I think you're so successful at doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
So it really does work. Over the past, how long has Gilbert Hospital been up and running? 6+ years?
A little over 6 years, yeah.
Walk us through kind of the progress, from day one, because I really wasn't there when we opened, and,
right.
and where we are today, and just kind of maybe the little ingredient of success that you see as we move forward.
We started off as a much smaller hospital than we actually are now. Mm-hmm. We started off with 22 emergency rooms, but only 2 inpatient beds.
Wow.
Dr. Johns had a vision to kind of hike up the level, kick up the level of health care and certainly customer service, and we were going to start that in the emergency room. And to be honest with you, the function of only having 2 inpatient beds to open up with was nothing more than, we had a group of local investors, and this is all the money that we had to put together. Mm-hmm. So we built a 38,000 square foot facility that was pretty much ED-centric.
Right.
That has now changed, and things have balanced out. We obviously have lost no focus on extraordinary emergency care and very fast emergency care. But we've grown. That 2 beds moved to 6 inpatient beds.
Wow.
Then it's moved to roughly 25 inpatient beds now. And now we have a 3-bed intensive care unit. Mm-hmm. And there, frankly, we can talk about Obamacare or health care reform, but once the laws permit us to expand, there is expansion plans for another 40. And ultimately, if there is community need, GilbertER Hospital, right in Gilbert, could be a 250-bed general acute care hospital.
I think if we stand firm in service-oriented, I mean, our turnover for the staff there is pretty much none. Is that right?
3%. I mean, the national average is in the high or low 20s, 15 to 20%. Basically, and we say this very proudly, and you can talk to any of our employees, and I know you do.
Yep.
They don't leave.
They don't.
We call it golden handcuffs, but we also, I think a lot of institutions, a lot of businesses, they talk a lot about treating the employees and their employees as family. Mm-hmm. Well, when you really think about it, I did a lot of crazy things growing up, and my mom is probably listening to this. But, she never once, my mom and dad never fired me, Exactly. and granted, there are times when an employee needs to be, terminated or let go, but and if there's certainly a better opportunity for them and their family, then we encourage that. But we stick by our employees, and people are human. Humans make mistakes. Obviously, we don't permit, patient care mistakes.
Sure.
But it's interesting. You give folks the flexibility, you believe in them,
right.
They stick.
Absolutely.
They stay with you.
Absolutely.
And it's not just all about money. Now, obviously, when we started, we could, just as when we started with 2 beds, we had very little to pay our employees. Many of them just knew Dr. Johns or myself, and they came along for the ride, and with a promise that, boy, when we can afford it, we will pay you what some of the other hospital systems pay you, and your benefits will be more traditional. And sure enough, it didn't take us long to be able to grow into those and give back to the employees, and we do in just an amazing way. Our benefits are stronger at this point.
You know what? Yeah,
than
give
most
us
places.
a little idea, because we'll talk about the wellness program in a moment.
Sure.
Because I think what David, what you've really set aside and apart from other hospitals is the opportunity for wellness, the opportunity to be incentivized for wellness, and that's huge. But maybe just a little bit about the benefit package, because from my understanding, it really sets us apart.
Well, it starts with everybody wants to know what their salary is,
Right.
and our salaries we bring nurses in, we bring housekeepers, whatever position it is, including CEO. We bring somebody in. We hire at the median. We don't hire at based on experience. If you're the right person,
Right.
we hire you at the median for what the Arizona Hospital Association in this area will pay for that position. And the definition of the median is the 50th percentile. So you start off right in the middle of the pack, and then one of the beautiful parts about our straight salary system is there is absolutely no topping out. Earlier, April 1st, April Fool's Day, we gave a 3% cost of living adjustment, and show me another hospital that is giving cost of living adjustments in the last 3 or 4 years. And on top of that, employees get an annual length of service increase. And then benefits are very standard, although our retirement program is nothing short of extraordinary. And
That's
I didn't know if you want me
Yeah.
to go into the details,
Yeah,
but
whatever.
literally, we for a brand new employee, if they contribute 4% to a non-qualified 401k, which they can manage, incidentally. I don't manage it. I don't see what they.
Wow.
I see the gross amounts that are put in. They put in 4%. The hospital will match it with 6%.
Wow.
Doesn't take a genius to realize that's 10% of your gross going into a retirement program. And here's the kicker, Ann. Immediate vesting,
Wow.
meaning if they leave in a month, they take whatever they've put in and the hospital has put in with us for them, with them.
Wow.
If they leave in 20 years, then the same thing goes. And here's, we've now gone to the second level. If you participate in that program for a year straight, you can elect to put in 10% of your gross,
Wow.
and the hospital will match it with 10. Now, that's 20%. I mean, and it's immediate vesting. I'm looking at you. I'm going to have an application for the hospital very quickly.
I'm sure we're going to get a lot.
But it's things like that. Our health insurance is self-insured because I didn't want to just use the traditional health insurance companies that might say no to one of our employees. If we have an employee that needs a particular procedure, in vitro or something that typically isn't covered, we wanted to be able to say, hey, wait a minute, that is a loyal employee. Absolutely. That employee comes in at 2 o'clock in the morning, works on patients even when they're not, asked to. Let's help them out. And as a result, we've been able to help a few employees like that with things that typically wouldn't be covered. And again, it gets back to that. Are they family?
Exactly.
Or are they not? I mean, there's plenty of things that I did wrong, but my parents never threw me out. They always paid for health care for me.
Right. For those of you listening, I got to tell you, it is because of what David is talking about, the character that you are, that you have loyal people, physicians.
I am a
staff,
character.
all of that. And so I personally am, I'm just honored to be part of the whole system as we grow.
Oh, thank you.
So let's see. GilbertER Hospital treated more than 200,000 people through the ER. Last year, I believe it was. That was the
no, that's since in the 6 years.
We
see roughly about 40 to 50,000 a year through the emergency room, which is considered a pretty busy, general acute care, community hospital emergency room.
And we're certified under Medicare and Medicaid.
Of course.
David, what does it take to become certified? What does that mean?
Well, you go through, first of all, you get licensed by your state Department of Health Services, in this case, the Arizona Department of Health Services, and all the hospitals in our area. In order to open for business, you have to be licensed. Roughly 3 or 4 weeks after you open and see enough patients, you can qualify for a CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services in Baltimore, their survey. And then you become certified to provide care and actually get reimbursed by Medicare and Medicaid. And it's basically we just went through it in Florence, but Gilbert did the same thing 6 years ago. It's a 3-day unannounced inspection, and they go through every aspect. There are clinical folks that come out that look at your processes on everything. There are nurses. There are life safety, plant operations people. They want to know about the physical facilities, the air handling, you name it, from top to bottom, A to Z.
I know. I mean, I was there one day and they pulled me aside, unannounced, and I understand we did pretty well, very well.
In Florence, we did beautifully. In Gilbert, we obviously were very successful also. Yeah. But I think we've really, over the last 6 years, and I'll put a plug in for the gal that coordinates things for us, and that's Carolyn Massoud and her team. She's our VP of Nursing Services, and she just goes into every survey, be it an annual licensing inspection or a CMS survey, anybody coming in, and she just won't tolerate anything but a zero deficiency.
That's awesome.
Which, incidentally, we just went through when we opened up Florence Hospital at Anthem. The Department of Health Services came in, and after about 3 hours, on their unannounced inspection, they said, we are trying to find something and we can't find anything wrong. They left later that day and certified or licensed us for operation, and zero deficiencies. Never been done before.
That's unheard of.
Kudos to Carolyn. Kudos to the staff at Florence Hospital at Anthem.
I remember I was standing there, and the lady that was there literally said, I'm trying to find something to get you on, and I can't find it. I mean, that's really neat.
I have very little to do with it.
Well, I mean, I think that it's the whole process.
It's a great team, and I think that's where I come in. We try to put together a good team, and that's part of the philosophy also. I think far smarter people than me, Teddy Roosevelt used to, you hire smart and then have enough brains to just get the heck out of the way and let them do their jobs. Don't micromanage, just get out.
Right.
Leave them alone.
That's why, in my eyes, you really, you got this thing conquered, and that's a really great character. GilbertER Hospital, Florence at Anthem, how do they differ from other hospitals? Because, I mean, clearly they're different. Can you, is it how you manage it? Is it from the inside out? I
think there's a lot of things different. A hospital in my mind, and I know Dr. John's the same thing, a hospital is nothing more than 4 walls, a ceiling, and a bunch of equipment. It's the people, it's the team, it's that makes everything. Specifically, Dr. Johns pointed us in the direction of a very, very fast emergency care, and that translated and spilled out in Gilbert and now in Florence, and we're building in Peoria the same philosophy. We have become a very nimble hospital, a very quick hospital. We react very well. I try to be proactive, but at times when you have to react, we don't have endless meetings. We don't have tons of budgeting meetings. We don't look at the same metrics that most traditional hospitals look at and analyze every nursing hour per patient day. And, we do what is right for the patient. And, we just bring it down. Dr. Johns has always instilled upon us, you take care of the patient. You put forth high-quality service, the money will follow.
Right. And I think that's true. That happens.
And I do believe that's a major difference between us and that. And frankly, my job as a CEO is to basically say when a caregiver, be it a nurse, a nurse's aide, or even a physician like yourself comes up to me and we need a XYZ machine. We need to do this. The answer is yes. What was the question? And there are no excuses. There's no budget meetings. There's no trying to figure out whether this is, a 6-month study before we can give Dr. Borik the answer.
Right.
No, just do it.
Right. And that's
a Nike commercial here.
It's true. I love that. That's great. The eye of the future. I know that you said that. Kind of give our listeners and give us a little snapshot of what that is, because the first time that I experienced that, a few years ago, it was jam-packed. There's standing room only. You basically come out, and it's a venue. It's a forum where you basically kind of give the staff an opportunity to talk and ask questions. And tell us a little bit about the genesis of the Eye of the Future and what your intention is.
It was just my, I try not to micromanage, so I let our 26 at GilbertER Hospital, there's 26 department directors roughly, and you let them responsible for disseminating the information that I give to them, or Dr. Johns gives them. But every now and then, while I go around the hospital and I talk to people, I want them to have direct access to me. It also keeps the department directors on their toes a little bit too, making sure that the message is coming out, which incidentally it always does. But it is, it's my opportunity to go on stage. I've always wanted to be a stand-up comic, anyhow. My wife will tell you about that. And she'll also say she's funnier than me, but we'll talk about that later. It's my opportunity to talk to the employees. Anything goes. I bring an agenda, but they usually change it, and whatever they want to talk about, we talk about, whether it's wellness, whether it's building another hospital, whether it's issues that we have, questions they have. One of the more popular parts of the Eye to the Future, which we try to do every 3 to 4 months, and we do it religiously because I think it's important.
Absolutely.
And, but one of the most interesting parts is, of course, everyone wants to know, when's the next raise? When's the next benefit? It's how can I help my family? And that's fine. There is nothing that is banished from the agenda.
Wow.
There's no politically correct or incorrect questions. Whatever comes.
That's awesome. I think we're going to start getting some calls and so forth. But until then, I want to just talk a little bit about wellness, because I think that that's something that maybe sets us a little bit apart. I know that the vision to have wellness, to have employees that are well, that are healthy, that are happy, that are giving good patient care. I would love to hear your idea of our wellness program, the vision that we have, because we've done it and we've collaborated together to do it.
We have, and it wouldn't have gotten anywhere. I mean, your listeners need to know it wouldn't have gotten anywhere with me. It needed someone like you that understood it and had the firepower behind it to make it a reality. But from an administrator's standpoint, which is really what I am, from a leader's standpoint, as I said earlier, one of the key cornerstones of is our benefit program, and we chose to go with a self-insured health insurance program. I like to be very generous. I don't like to say no to the employees when they need medical procedures, and we are much more generous than a traditional, as I've said. So that leads to increased costs, maybe not on the administrative side, but on the, we had a lot of people utilizing the system, and one of the ways I thought, and I did a lot of research, there's other folks, this is not unique to GilbertER Hospital,
Sure.
although I think some of the things that you've done especially are very, very unique, but it was designed as a way to keep people healthy, keep our employees healthy. And you start with our employees, and then we started thinking, well, what if we could keep our employees' families healthy? Then you even have a more productive employee who's not worried about the sick children and how are they going to get them, take off from work to get into a primary care facility, which incidentally is another issue. How do you get an appointment into a primary care in a timely manner? I have trouble. Everybody has trouble. So we said, and again, if we're going to do this, let's do it.
Right.
Let's not do it partially. Let's do it in a complete manner. And you had to start somewhere, and but now it's morphed into all sorts of incentive programs, and we put fitness in. And I know you'll probably ask more about that, but I'm going to deflect most of those questions back to you because you're the brainchild of most of it. Now we're talking about even restaurant type of healthy eating, and we have websites. I mean, we're starting to do this. It's even more past the employees and the employees' families, and now it's moving into the community.
Exactly.
And it's growing very quickly. And but it was all born out of the idea of how do we control our costs? And P.S., do what's right.
Exactly.
Keep people healthy.
Right.
And that's where someone like you has to come in, because I don't understand. I'm not a physician.
Yeah, and we're seeing, just with our diabetics, with our wellness program, we do the HRA, which is the health risk assessment, and it gives us a snapshot of how healthy our employees really are. And it gives us a baseline, and I can tell you that clearly we're seeing improvements in the hemoglobin A1C measuring for diabetics, going from 10 down to 6. I mean, that's huge. I mean, you can't really measure that, but it's immeasurable because of the benefit.
And then we started, we've got some pushback. While we have amazing employees, a lot of employees don't want necessarily to, I know a lot of them were concerned, will Dr. Johns and David see, or will my department director see my HRA, the results of my physical and my goals, and things like that, and obviously there's federal laws that protect that, but I'm not interested in it anyhow. I look at macro and are our costs coming down? Are we keeping people healthy? And that's really where this whole thing became born out of.
Right, and that's the integrity that I, as a physician, stand in. That we run it as a medical facility, as a medical doctor's office, and I think that people now know that that's the trust is there.
And I think then what we tried to do is, for those stragglers, those folks that are on the fence, let's make it really difficult for them not to participate. Right. How about we enhance the benefits for those that participate in these programs? How about lowering their health insurance premiums, which are pretty low anyhow, but how about,
huge.
It's those types of things, and some of the games and the fun that we've put in, the contests, beat your boss and try to lose more weight than your boss. Anybody can do that. Look at me. But, it's things like that. And there is the fitness portion, the Zumba classes, the aerobics. It's just, it's a healthy environment. And then when you come back and the caregivers come back and they can validate with empirical data that we're keeping our little population that works at our hospitals healthier, well, then you feel a lot better.
And it's translated to patient care, because a lot of the reviews that I get with patient contacts back and when they respond to a survey, a lot of times they say, I see that your staff is smiling more than at other hospitals. They're happier. They seem to be happier, and it's true. And I think that translates it. Just getting back to you, I think that, you work out, you look incredible. I mean, you have,
thank you.
And I try to work out, and we try to live and not only talk the talk, but walk the talk, and do what we say we're doing. And I think that speaks volumes.
And it's interesting because, I talk with people. I have people in my own family that I can't get that concept through to.
Right.
If you can't walk and you want to walk, talk to Dr. Borik, get on the program, man.
We'll get you
it
going.
starts with one step.
Exactly.
And then tomorrow we might take 2 steps. And, suddenly 2 months later, you're running a marathon.
Yeah, you're not going to know, but you're going to do that.
And but at the same time, you're eating right. You're,
Yes.
I think a lot of the wellness, in my mind, it's in your mind. It's
absolutely, it's an attitude.
An attitude, yes, positive.
And that's huge when you are administering to patients who are sick, because you can kind of translate that to them and help to make them feel better. Minister to the family members, and so it's a great cascade effect. I think we have a question.
We do. We've had 2 callers. That one had a comment. Pam from Phoenix said, "Wonderful show, and what a great guy you must be to have benefits like that for your employees." And then Teresa called in from Tempe, and with an interesting question. She wanted to know if you then stray away from hiring people that have pre-existing conditions, and if you did hire them, would they still get the same benefits as an employee that came in cleanly, totally healthy?
That's an easy question to answer. While more and more employers are screening away, I know employers that, and it is legal not to hire smokers and folks with pre-existing conditions. To be honest with you, we don't. I'm looking, I don't know how to explain this using the right words, but what I want our directors to do, and when I hire directly, I'm looking for the best person. Frankly, I don't care what you look like. Maybe I should care about your health and things like that, but if I'm hiring for housekeeping, I want the best housekeeper I want somebody with Dr. Borik's attitude, somebody that's go. Well, no, I don't clean here. Yes, we do whatever we have to do. We have physicians in our facility that clean the skylights, and nobody is, everybody does everything, but I'm straying away from the question. And yes, they would be covered fully. We have not even gone down that road. The only place where we would start, I'm not sure the word discrimination is right, but those that participate have stronger benefits than those employees that don't.
Right.
They're still good employees. They have just chosen not to participate, although there's just very few of them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we have most people now participating. But I can tell you, just opening up the new hospital, the people that you've hired, there's been no discrimination between people who have medical problems or not. I mean, that's just not what we do.
And it's really it's not even the law. It's what's right.
Exactly.
I have to get up. I have to shave in the morning. I have to look at myself. I'm not a big bad CEO. It still bothers me if somebody. And that's why we put programs in like this. And it hurt at the beginning because we couldn't do this for our employees. When we first started, the money wasn't flowing. We were a very small facility, but boy, GilbertER Hospital caught on, and now it's so good to be able to give back to the employees.
Yeah, the door-to-dock. I mean, we literally have maintained that within 8 minutes. Or what is the?
It's actually under 8 minutes.
Under 8 minutes. I mean, there's no wait in our ER.
No, we actually went to the Department of Health Services and asked, could we get rid of our waiting rooms, which are code. It's part of the code, and they laughed at us. Of course, we have to maintain the standards, but it's wasted space in our hospital
really
because the waiting rooms might have people in it 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, I've never really.
The aquarium builders out there are all bummed out, huh?
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Let's talk about some of the awards and recognitions that we've gotten. If you want to kind of share, I know that we were just recently voted Best Business Open 24/7 by the East Valley Tribune. Is that
right? Yes, we received that. And I think rather than centering on some of the big awards we've gotten, which have incidentally, well, I'm jumping all over here, but I think the best awards are the letters that come in literally every day.
Nice.
And usually as a hospital CEO, and in any of the other facilities I've ever worked in or been a CEO in, you get your fair share of lawsuits, but more importantly, you get nasty grams. That's why most CEOs don't want to give out their personal cell phones or whatever, or even be, we do that incidentally. Every employee,
it's unbelievable.
Should have my cell phone or Dr. John's, and we encourage that. And you know what? no one misuses
Exactly.
it. They don't call you at 2 in the morning, and I mean.
I understand
but
that.
those are the types of awards that we get almost every day. Had I known and even thought about it, I would have brought
that would have been great.
some of them to share with you, and,
Wow.
and I'll give them to you, so maybe you can share
We
them
can put
with
'em
the
on the
audience.
website,
But those are the awards. I mean, every now and then the Rotary or somebody gives you, and not to downgrade those
Sure.
organizations, but the real satisfaction comes from the patient the positive feedbacks, the surveys, but more importantly, people take time to say, wow, what an experience. Everyone, the housekeepers, the folks that triaged me into the hospital, the physician, everybody had a smile on their face. Well, if they, what these patients and our customers don't know is we demand that.
Exactly.
I mean, but you don't have to really demand hard.
But you create an environment
Exactly.
to facilitate that, and that's what works. I think that's really what sets you apart as your managing style from a lot of other hospitals and CEOs and places that I've been experiencing.
And I got a lot of guidance early on from Dr. Johns. I've just taken it, my style is pretty kickback anyhow, and I tend to trust people, and again, the Teddy Roosevelt thing, but I'm not an expert, and no chief executive officer is an expert in any one aspect of something or an organization as dynamic as a hospital.
Right.
As I said, we have 26 department directors.
Wow.
For instance, I don't know that much about dietary, but I know enough so the dietary director can't snow me.
Exactly.
I don't know that much about marketing. I don't know much about finance, but you got to know enough to... I'm more of an orchestrator. I keep everything going.
And you do it really, really well.
Oh, thank you.
And that's awesome. Some of the community partners that we have. I understand the Higley Unified School District. Is that right?
We did, and one of the cool things about that, we have always traditionally been very heavily involved in Gilbert and Higley, and now we're starting the same thing in Florence, and we have already started in Peoria where we're building.
Wow.
But you got to be partners with the community.
Absolutely.
And early on, we did it more traditionally. I think we're the exclusive healthcare sponsor at Big League Dreams, the Santan Mall.
Nice.
There's another
Polar Ice?
the Polar Ice,
Yeah,
yes, the ice rink.
Wow, that's neat.
And we did that stuff. But one day, Amy and myself, our marketing director, we were talking, and I was thinking one night, not to say anything negative about the Santan Mall or the Polar Ice or those types of things, but it's got to be something different we can do with some of our marketing dollars, a different way to do it, something a little bit more meaningful. And that's when we decided to partner up with the Higley Unified School District.
Wow.
We're now in those discussions with Florence. And some of the things that we get to do, it just seems that instead of putting a billboard up,
that's what I was going to say.
or a
Something
sign
that's static.
somewhere,
Right.
As there's a place for all that, but to be able to give bicycles to children that can't afford them,
How
or
awesome.
coats in the winter to families that can't afford to buy that to me means a little bit more, and we want to attach the GilbertER Hospital or the Florence Hospital
love
at Anthem
that.
to that. And some of the events we help sponsor or solely sponsor for the Higley Unified School District. I know we're building bridges, the Tom Chapin concert every year,
Wow.
which is, if you've never done it and you have an opportunity to do it, be a great guest on your show, incidentally.
Love to have him, yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Absolutely.
great.
You remember Harry Chapin?
Oh,
His
Cats in
brother-
the Cradle.
Yeah,
Love it.
Exactly.
his brother Tom, and he just the type of music he does, some adult music, but
Nice.
he does a concert for the school children, and they
Really?
bus them in and they fill
Oh,
up
David,
the
that's
Higley
awesome.
Performing Arts Center, and the messages in his songs. I mean, the kids really get into
it.
I get into
Yep,
it.
right, that's
I
good.
mean, and my wife and I have taken our 3 kids to the concerts
That's
the last
neat.
2 years. We do that. We sponsor Teacher of the Year. Let's see, some of the other things. I know there are other...
the vans, we wrap the
Yeah,
vans.
we wrap the
Yeah.
vans, and we're part of the big sponsor on the Veterans Day
That's
celebration.
right.
Again, does it get any better than
No.
using your money and some of our profits to throw right back into the community? And everybody knows that you talk to some of these school systems, and it's tough with the cuts that they've gone through. And trust me, we've gotten many of the same cuts in healthcare. But we're fortunate enough to be profitable enough to be able to push back into the community in ways like this, and that's it's the management at the Higley School District is just Dr. Birdwell, the superintendent. She is so far above me in positive, and she gets it. She's one of those people that gets it, and that's why it's a pleasure to partner up.
And it brings you together, and as a result, it's good for everybody. It's a win-win.
In fact, if she's listening, she'll hear for the first time. I haven't gone to her yet, but we're about to go to her to ask for. I want her to come in and talk to the hospital staff
that would be
because
great.
she's just a lot of fun, and she gets it. Very positive, very get it done. Which is what GilbertER Hospital is all about.
Exactly. I think we're going to have some questions here in a minute.
Thank you, Randy. Okay.
Joe, do you have a question there?
Yes, actually, we've got a couple of comments up on the board here. A little feedback from AJ. Wanted people to know that. Let's see. Listen and address my every need. Your hospital. Thank you. Best hospital stay I've ever had. Everyone was friendly and fast. No hassles with paperwork. Right into the rooms. There's all kinds of people on here with great comments.
Tell him I'll get his check to him.
Yeah, exactly. That's in the mail. Another person, best organization I've ever worked for in 27 years of healthcare employment.
Nice.
We had
very nice.
Randy and the employees from AAA called in and said, great show, and they will be using your hospitals now permanently.
Fantastic. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you for the calls and all the.
No one ever likes to see anyone in the hospital unless they're having a baby or something. But if they need us, we're there. And
I've actually checked into Gilbert once myself, and it was terrific. I came down with a bad case of pneumonia, and if it wasn't for GilbertER, I think I'd be laying out in the wash somewhere decomposing.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm glad we could help.
It was amazing to me because it was literally I walked in the door and I was right there. Bam.
See, that's neat. We have the VIP registration process, which is really neat. Where people can call ahead and kind of give you a heads up and really streamline. I don't know that it's necessary though, because
that's
right.
They asked me, well, could we do that, Dave?
Right.
And I said, well, it's your hospital, guys. If you want to put a VIP program in, sure. The real question I have is exactly what you just said.
Right.
We see people so fast,
so
quickly now. I mean, but we've got programs like that. Now the VIP, you get a card, and ultimately when everybody gets mature enough and we have the technological know-how to be able to put medical information on barcode that can be used. Right now, the card is just used with your demographics, and you're swiped, and you even go in quicker than the 2 questions that we ask you before we bring you back.
Right.
And you give us permission to treat. But it's so when you think about what we could do with that card, and then take the information that is on that card theoretically, and I'm not sure it can all be done, but in my mind, and then take it if you have to go to your physician's office, and he can read right off of there.
The EKG, for example.
Exactly.
Download that. We do the TOPS program. With screening of the kids, and that's something too. Like if one of the kids gets a head injury, for example, wouldn't it be neat to have that information preloaded on there so that there's a baseline screening? Those are the kind of things that I think we're teed up to do.
I don't think we're that far. We're not that far as a society from that with the technological advances that is going on now. But we've got a little ways to go, and it's also going to require at some point some cooperation between all the various different healthcare organizations. If you, in my mind, and maybe I'm naive, but you ought to be able to get a script written in the hospital's inpatient or ED or discharged, and take that on that card over to one of your local pharmacies, your Walgreens or your CVS or your Target or whatever, and they should be able to read that card. Your primary care, if you go to, I don't know why you'd want to go to a competitor hospital, but if you did, because they're all great, and incidentally, you know, plug for the rest of the hospitals. We're all licensed by the same folks. Phoenix is blessed with extraordinary hospitals. And there's a shortage of services. So I know at Gilbert Hospital, and I know some of the local hospitals here, we don't look at each other as competitors. We're all trying to take care of patients.
Exactly. And most of us are on staff at other hospitals, so we're, you know, we're running around.
I'm not, but you are.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm dedicated to your hospital, so that's really nice. In my career, for the first time, I'm not running around to different hospitals. We're dedicated to maintaining our patients in our own hospital.
We got a question from somebody out there on the chat. Would like to know about insurance contracts.
Good question.
It's a very good question. And I'm presuming they're asking what contracts we have or just my theory behind them. If not, I'll just
about insurance contracts.
Okay, let me give you my theory. And because it's morphed now over the years since Gilbert has opened. At first, we didn't operate with many contracts. I think we had one small contract. About 2 years into the operation of Gilbert, we got our first major contract, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And from there, we've added on. And just recently, we signed with Aetna. And I think it's probably kosher to say this. We are within a week or two of signing United and Cigna, and we already have HealthNet. But that was a major question from a lot of people early on. Now let me talk to you about the mean old hospital administrator, the business side of things. Contracting, typically hospitals always contracted with payers. And incidentally, for those that don't understand, contracting is nothing more than discounting your services and your fees. And if you think about it, why would you discount your services and fees to people unless something was brought back to you? In the old days, what the payers brought to you was volume. They don't really do that anymore. There's plenty of hospitals out there. There's plenty of folks. That notwithstanding, we have changed our tune. We are, as I've just mentioned, we are now signing contracts with all the major players, and in fact some smaller players too. And I'd say within the next 45 days, we will have every major contract, and that's for all of our facilities. You don't just load up one. You load up Gilbert, Florence, and we've got it now set up where when Peoria Regional Medical Center comes online, we will start with contracts from day one there.
Now, having said that, we don't refuse anybody.
Oh, no.
Anybody
God
that comes
forbid,
in, we see everybody, and that's...
Can I say something about that? Because you asked earlier, how does Gilbert Hospital and Florence Hospital at Anthem differ from other hospitals? We blind our staff to that very piece of information. There is no way the staff that is treating the patient coming through the door, now the patient doesn't know this because we don't advertise it, but there's no way the staff knows what type of whether that patient has insurance. They are there for one reason and one reason only: take care of the patient. And just regardless of anything. First of all, it's federal law, but second of all, and despite federal law, there's many hospitals out there that do that. What we call a wallet biopsy. You'll get very basic services. To meet the letter of the law, the EMTALA federal laws, but then afterwards
and then they ship you off to a state hospital or somewhere.
Well, you go elsewhere.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you get stabilized and moved out. That's not the case here.
Absolutely.
And again, at the very beginning, I mentioned, and this was I got to give credit where credit's due. Dr. Johns early on said, "Forget about the money. Take care of the people." You take care of the people, the money will follow. And in this country, many hospitals don't get paid. I just read an article about, in fact, I know some of the hospital folks down in Douglas, Arizona, right on the border. I needn't tell you how many babies they're delivering down there, and they don't get.
Wow.
They get nothing because they're folks coming over the border. But again, they don't turn away anybody. I don't know a hospital that, in good conscience would.
That would do that, right.
But many of them do your basic services, meet the letter of the law, and then
right. And at
you're on your own.
And at Florence, I mean, that is absolutely not the environment.
Nobody knows whether you're, if you come in, we have no idea. It is. We don't even get that information.
That's fantastic.
Well, we don't get that information until you're either 3/4 through your ED visit or it's on discharge, and it hurts sometimes because sometimes people leave without giving you that information, and then you've given free care, which is okay. I mean, I'm sure my board wouldn't like that necessarily, but it's. You don't go into many other types of businesses in this country, whether it's, let's say, a bakery. You don't get your cookies and your cake until you pay.
Right.
And that's a whole different philosophical debate that we could have here, and it doesn't matter. The letter of the law says one thing, and we, as good people, I mean, take care of the people. We don't worry about the money. The money will come, and the money comes.
It does. Absolutely it does. Joe.
That was a really good question we just got from Cindy in Apache Junction. Would like to know if you have rattlesnake antivenom and scorpion antivenom.
We are one of the 2 or 3 hospitals that do have the scorpion antivenom in the state. I believe we're a test site for that, and I believe you might be able to answer this better than I. I believe we've got the rattlesnake venom.
We
too.
do. I mean, we've actually had people come in with rattlesnake bites, and they're taken care of. So that's not a problem. In fact, when I moved here from Pittsburgh, first time I came in 1995, my first patient was a rattlesnake bite in the office,
wow.
and I had no clue. I said, "Get this patient out of my office and get him to the ER." I had no clue on what to do.
Do they have rattlesnakes in Pittsburgh?
No, but it was here. That's why I didn't know what to do. So yes, but we do, and
that's
was a good
great
question,
news,
though.
especially the scorpion one. That 5 days of pain thing.
Yeah,
I got to tell you this, and my mother just moved out here from New Jersey, and I mentioned to her, well, you got to be careful out here, Mom. The scorpions kind of blend into the tile and the carpeting, and well, what's a scorpion? And then you start telling her, and you watch people that don't know, their eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it smarts, and it's very dangerous.
It really is, especially for those of you listening, just from a physician perspective, for children. I mean, it can be a life-threatening situation. It paralyzes the neurologic system. And so when you don't have the neurologic and the brain system working to stimulate breathing, people stop breathing. So it can be very, very dangerous.
We're talking about scorpions or rattlesnakes?
Scorpion bites, yeah. So it can be pretty dangerous.
And they hurt.
Yeah.
And I mean hurt. Oof.
Yeah, that's a problem. David, we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. Anything else that we want to talk about? Do you have anything else on your mind that you want to kind of throw out?
Just again, if there's anything else you want to talk about vis-a-vis the wellness program, because I think that's where the future is. Sure, the hospital and our model, we are going to continue to build these hospitals in communities that need us. Right. But in my mind, it should be. It's not just the hospital. It's the wellness program. It's trying to keep or introduce into people's lives preventive medicine and paying attention. Take that first step. Then it leads to a second step, and eat healthy. And I'm of course not a very good poster child for that.
I think that's the foundation. If we build that, into the culture for the staff, then we can actually translate that into the community, and then it becomes a very, very good working relationship, with the community. We're going to be starting our wellness program, the clinic out in Florence.
Yes.
And I'm very excited about it. We're going to be starting, with medical access. We'll have a clinic up and running, massage therapy, physical therapy, and then, on top of that, then we'll introduce some of the fitness classes, and we'll do it slowly, and I think that'll be a really great way to open this up.
One of the things, and I don't know how much relevance this has, but When we first introduced, when you first introduced fitness to our employees, and actually we brought in trainers, and people, employees had to get used to working out either on their own or in front of other employees, but it's made for some amazing water cooler talks, and everybody's kind of excited. Well, how many push-ups did you do? And normally these are folks that would have said, a push-up? What the heck is that? Or they do a lot more fun things, the Zumba and
yoga.
Some of the yoga.
Yeah, I mean, we have some of the ER guys that work in the ER, big, that are doing yoga. I mean, it's great for core strengthening. It really, really helps with, low back pain, those kinds
Our
of
chief of
things.
staff, Dr. Franco, is a yoga convert.
Yeah,
Yes,
so it's really, really good.
Had a good question from Nancy in Casa Grande. Wants to know if you have any planned, or if you plan on doing mobile units in the future.
Wow.
I'm almost going to defer that to the mobile lady here
That's
because
a great question.
we just talked about this.
Yeah, we actually have, right, in your outside
Absolutely.
here, what is it, a 51-foot?
It's pretty big.
Yeah, it's an RV. And our intention is really to wrap it, to really kind of bring out, the GilbertER Hospital, the Florence, the culture with which we are in, and bring it out to the community, to make that an educational. One of the things that I have, that I would love to see happen would be as the baby boomer, ages, not strokes, but dementia and memory. I mean, we all want to preserve our memory. And there are modalities that we can do that are exercises for the brain. I mean, wouldn't it be neat to have a mobile unit that we can actually, have come in, have iPads, have it staffed, have, video, and have it to be an exercise for the brain.
Oh, yeah.
Those kinds of things. Educational, diabetic education, cardiovascular education. So Diane or Kathy?
Nancy.
Absolutely, yes. We are, that's something that is on our agenda, and we're going to hope to move forward with. So that would be really, really neat.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, I
There's
think
no
we should.
hope about it. We're going to do
I
it.
think
It's
we
just
should.
a matter of affording it, and,
And just,
like everything else we do, one step at a time.
Absolutely.
And pretty soon
Absolutely.
we'll have a fleet of these things
yeah,
floating
I think it would be
around.
great, especially since we're building hospitals, and it lends to the mobility, the reach out to the communities. Then sooner rather than later, instead of joining a community that has a health fair, we are the people that put on the health fair. You know what I mean? Then we go to the community senior centers and GilbertER Hospital, Florence at Anthem, Hospital. We are the one that is bringing the education and the health preventative education. So I think that's a great thing.
I wish we could bring in, and maybe we can. We haven't talked about this. I wish we could bring the fitness too.
Yeah,
I mean, what's your excuse now? Folks don't want to go to the gym, or
Yes.
they don't even want to go down if they've set up in their own basement. Treadmills and things.
Yep.
There's always an excuse. Well, now we're going to bring it to you.
Right,
And
right. That sets us apart a bit. I mean, that really is part of.
So
what
for
we do.
employees, you have a gym there at the hospital?
yes,
We do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really a unique situation.
and we have trainers coming in, and Zumba instructors, and yoga.
That's fantastic.
It really is.
And my guess is very shortly this lady is going to come up with some other things. I mean, I heard some ideas yesterday just on the nutrition side of things, and some of it I have to scratch my head and say, oh my God, what do I know about running a restaurant or a coffee shop or healthy eating? And that's where I have to
Right.
But we always bring in the right people to run these things, folks that know far more about this stuff than we do.
The motto of our hospital, for those of you that listening that have been to the hospital, we don't have a cafeteria. I mean,
Right.
the hospital is built that way. And so it's a perfect venue to really kind of bring the culture of wellness in and bring fresh fruits and stuff that there's studies showing that, if we increase fruits and vegetables and salads, that it's good for, your blood sugar. It's good for heart disease. I mean, there's
One of our, and you probably remember this, but one of our first trainers that came in and started doing the HRAs
Yes.
and working with the employees, she would literally walk around the hospital, and you'd have ED docs with Doritos, and they're ready to take a bite, and she's grabbing them out of the hand and putting an apple. And they're looking like, huh?
It's true. I mean,
But now they're eating apples.
exactly. And that really, lifestyle changes. You know what I mean? It's more of a choice that they start.
This is a rub-off thing.
Yeah.
Do you know, since Dr. Borik started the show, I've lost 30 pounds, and I'm kidding you, I have not even been dieting. I think it's just
bless.
Dr. Borik coming in, and I'm like feeling like,
Well, I talked to my own family about this lady. She is so upbeat. There is nothing. If I wanted to run a marathon, she would get me there.
Her
She
first
would
three or
bring
four,
in, you know,
her first 3 or 4 guests and scared me.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
I think that's what did it.
We had physical therapy here, and
The heart doctors, and
Cardiologists.
after they left the show, I'm like, I think I need to go get a salad.
That's funny. That's great.
I'm not much of a salad guy.
Yeah, we have some work to do with the veggies.
I'm a handful, but I do work out. So
That's great. Any other questions that we have? I have a few medical things that I just want to comment. We only have 3 or 4 minutes left. And one of the staff members at the hospital grabbed me yesterday and said, can you comment about the shingles vaccine? And so I just want to kind of give a little bit of information about the shingles vaccine. It is absolutely safe. First of all, people who have had shingles they can get the vaccine. It basically what shingles is a reactivation of the chickenpox virus.
Yeah.
And now over 200,000 people have gotten the vaccine. It's very, very safe. Studies show that they've tolerated it. And the FDA actually approved this vaccine in 2006, and it's recommended for anybody over the age of 60. So for those of you listening, I just wanted to make sure that we address that. The other question about the vaccine is, how often do you get revaccinated? And the answer is it's just a one-time shot. So, the shingles vaccine, it's a one-time shot. Anybody over the age of 60, if you're healthy, even if you've had shingles before, they recommend waiting a year, but it is something that is recommended.
Can you get it under the age of 60? Because I've seen people with that. They look like they're dying.
Yeah.
I've had it, and I'm a little under 60.
Actually,
not much.
After it initially came out in 2006, and then the FDA put out another recommendation for people over the age of 50. So you can get it in that time period. So that's the lowdown on the shingles vaccine. One more thing that came up was probiotics, and I just want to talk a little bit about people who are on antibiotics. For example, we've talked about this in past shows. Of sometimes antibiotics can cause colitis and play havoc with the gastrointestinal tract. I want to just give the viewers and just give a little information on food sources that are good probiotics to incorporate into the diets. I mean, we know about acidophilus, we know about all that, but what a lot of us may not know, and I didn't know this whole list, but yogurt we know is a good probiotic, but sauerkraut, very good probiotic. Soft cheese like Gouda, Gouda has some good bacteria that replenishes the GI tract. Sourdough bread, if you have a choice in getting a sandwich, sourdough bread is good. Buttermilk is cultured with lactic acid bacteria. And sour pickles, interestingly, have some of the digestive benefits that can naturally ferment that help to replenish the good bacteria in the system. So just wanted to kind of put that out because those were some of the questions that came up. And with that, David, if there's anything else, we're gonna wrap this thing up. And
this was an absolute pleasure. And I looked down at my watch just now, and I thought I was here 5 minutes, and it's over an hour. So, thank you very much
David,
for having me. Thank you.
I hope we can plan on having you back for regular reports and things going on.
Good.
Well, I don't know if I can get a helicopter out here, but I will drive out here. Absolutely.
That's great.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap, Joe.
We're all set, huh? All right, let's take our ending in here. That caught me off guard there. I was into the moment.
Good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn you back to some great music, and we'll be back with you shortly.
This concludes Doc Talk Radio with Dr. Anne Borik. Till next time, I wish you health, wellness, and many blessings.
Doc Talk Radio is brought to you by GilbertER Hospital and Florence and Anthem Hospitals. Topics discussed are for informational and not intended to substitute advice from your personal physician.